My channel. Today we'll be discussing one of the most important topic called recursion in programming, which is often been ignored or misunderstood uh, at the beginning of the programming lessons or the phase. So first of all, what is recursion? So before I explain in terms of programming, I'll just give an example which I got from Wikipedia. It's something like in childhood we used to play dolls, right? So one doll, bigger doll is having smaller dolls inside, and you open up and you get the smaller versions of it. So it's something like the similar concept, like you do something repetitively, the same thing, but the input is different. For example, in the bigger doll goes to smaller, and then and so on, so something like that. So in programming language also the same. A function or method basically calls when itself continuously until it reach to the base condition is nothing but called recursion in programming language. So this will be more clear if I just give an example. So I have just taken a very simple example just to understand uh, in programming language what is recursion. So this function is self-explanatory, but I'll just repeat what exactly it's doing. For example, this function takes an input, okay, and it adds them up. For example, I'm calling, you can see in the down, add 5. So that, I mean, this function is basically doing 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 plus 0. So that's what the simple function is written. I'm taking Python as a programming language here, but the logic is gonna same for any other language like Java, C, or more advanced language called Scala. So on the right hand side you can see the call stack. So if you are from programming background, you might know that whenever we are executing a method or function, basically they are gonna create some call stack, or sometime it's called method stack in Java, and that's how the interpreter basically goes on. So for example, when I invoke this line print add 5, that's the place I'm calling this function. Add 5 is the argument of this function, and the call stack created, and this is something like I've just created add, okay, and this function comes here and it start executed. Okay, so now int I have passed 5 as an argument of this parameter. So if n is equals to 0, then return 0. So now at the moment it is not 0, so it will come in the else part and it will return n plus add n minus 1. This is nothing but the recursion. So as per the definition what we have seen, when a function calls itself, okay, until it reaches the base conditions to come out. So this is nothing but the base condition. If n is equals to 0, return 0. This is base condition for this recursion, and calling a function within itself is nothing but the recursion. So that's the place add n minus 1 I'm calling as a recursion, because this calls the same function but with a different parameter. So that's how the call stack is created first. Okay, let's see what happens next. So for example, at the moment for me n is 5, so it comes in the else block. So 5 plus, and it will call add function, it will go back again in the call stack. So what happens, for example, yeah, so for example it goes n equals to 4, okay, because I have reduced n value to minus 1, and now the next call stack is created with n equals to 4. Still my base condition is not reached, so it will gonna do the next iteration as well. Yeah, so now n is 3, still my base condition is not reached, so it will be continuing, and the call stack will again be created. N equals to 2, n equals to 1, and n equals to 0. Yeah, that's the condition. My base condition is reached and return 0. So that means the pointer will come out from the call stack, and the return value, now summation calculations will happen. For example, n is at the moment is 0, so 0, okay, it comes out, and when it goes to the further call stack where n is stored as 1, so 1 plus 0, basically this is 0, because add n minus 1 returning me 0 from my previous call stack. So 1 plus 0 is 1, as you can see I have noted down in the right hand side of the slide. So 1. So the next call stack is there with where n is equals to 2. So 2 is going to be added with the result, previous result, which is 1, so nothing but 3. Similarly, it will go on and it will go till n equals to 4, and n equals to 4, and my previous result is 6, so 4 plus 6 is 10. And now there is nothing in the call stack, only the method call. So method doesn't have anything, it just return, so it will return the value and your call stack will go away. So and the final result will come as a 10. Yeah. So that's a first example. Similar, very popular example, sometimes people call is factorial, right? So you might have done in your graduation or earlier. Factorial is nothing but multiplication of the number going down forward. For example, if I have factorial 5, of course the result will be 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. So similarly, here you can see I have called factorial of 5 and this function will be called. I have not captured yet the call stack, but it's the same in the previous slide. It's just that it does the multiplication and it calls with decremented value, one decremented value. So for example, it comes with 5. My base condition is different here because factorial 0 and factorial 1 both gives me 1. That's the basically base condition, because base condition is very important in any recursion logic. Otherwise your program will go in infinite loop and you might get basically call stack or Java method stack overflow. So that's a deep programming language specific, but more or less the idea is same. And it comes to else block and return n multiplication of the same function called, but with decremented value by 1. And similarly it goes on and you get the result accordingly. So that's a pretty overview of the recursion. I hope you enjoyed it and it makes sense for initial stage. Because it took some time for me to understand the recursion when I just see code like this, but with simple examples, basically understanding the logic helps you to understand the recursion in detail. So that recursion is a very powerful tool in programming language. There are many complex problems solved using recursion, but these two examples is basically giving an idea of how recursion works. Thanks for watching.